Awesome. Thank you so much, Vibor. And I believe we're recording. Are we all good with the recording?
Yeah, we are good.
Yes.
Okay, great. Excellent. So as Vibor mentioned today, we're going to be talking about end of support, focusing primarily on understanding the impact of the end of support, some of the timeline deprecations coming up, and the benefits of upgrading UiPath products in a timely manner. So as Vibor had mentioned, my name is Christian Ventriglia. I'm an automation consultant at CAI, and we have Pradeep with us. Pradeep will introduce himself. Yep.
Hi, I'm Chief Technologist for Peloton, and I'm here to talk about how we never have to upgrade and what are the best practices to keep our UiPath platform up and running. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Pradeep. So just a quick agenda. So some of the things that we're going to be covering today. So we're going to talk about UiPath support periods. We're going to talk about specifically the active support periods, mainstream versus extended. What are the definitions and what does that entail? What exactly is end of support? And then, as I mentioned, some timeline and alternatives for some upcoming deprecations, the benefits of staying current, and the best practices for staying current. So let's talk about the UiPath support periods. So you might be familiar with the acronyms FTS and LTS from previous upgrade engagements that you've conducted. Basically, UiPath issues two different types of support: long-term support and fast-track support. Fast-track support is for mainstream support 6 months from the release date, and for extended support it's 6 months from the mainstream support, so 6 months from the date here. And then our long-term support is 24 months from the release date. And for extended, it's 12 months from the end of the mainstream support. So when this one ends, we have another 12 months. Starting with the 2022.4 release, all future versions are going to benefit from this long-term support, so that you'll get the benefits of those 24 months from the initial release date for mainstream, and then 12 months after the end of mainstream for extended support. So all on-prem enterprises will receive 2 years of mainstream and 1 year of extended support. So what exactly is mainstream versus extended? So mainstream support can be thought of as products that are fully supported. So if you're in a mainstream support period, you're golden. That's when all your products are fully supported. So UiPath will provide customers with incident support, bug fixes, security updates, and responses to service requests. And once the mainstream support wraps up, once that period concludes, customers will be responsible for updating to a version that's either in mainstream support to remain fully supported, or they'll move on to extended support, in which products are only going to receive partial support. So now we're not under the umbrella of mainstream any longer, and so we're only going to be receiving partial support. And so when we're in that partial support period, UiPath will provide customers with incident support and critical security fixes on a commercially reasonable basis. Troubleshooting may include recommendations to upgrade to a version that's in mainstream support. So don't be alarmed if one of your support tickets comes back and says, well, it might be a good idea to switch to a mainstream support version because maybe extended support is wrapping up soon, and it just makes sense to migrate rather than trying to make it work in the extended support period under that version. And then on the conclusion of extended support period, the customer is required to update to a version that's available in mainstream or extended support. So then what is end of support? So basically a product that's considered out of support, that's going to be one in the product lifecycle that's UiPath's no longer providing any type of support. So that means no more full support or partial support, no support at all for an out of support product. And so you must upgrade to a version that's either available in the mainstream or the extended support to receive any kind of support. So if a product is in and out of support, that's a red flag to go ahead and make sure that your priority is moving that product into either a mainstream or an extended support model. And in order to see the list of out of support, you can go to this link here. So as a matter of fact, let me just go ahead and click that just so you all can see what that looks like over here. You can see just a list of some of the out of support product versions. So we'll share this link with you guys at the.
Yeah, while we are talking about these product supports, one of the things I just wanted to highlight here that these out of support product versions that you'll see, these are for individual products. So think about when you have installed Orchestrator, Insights, Task Manager, or Test Automation. platform is those individual products when you have installed those products, right? So if anyone is using back in before Automation Cloud was launched, all these UiPath products were available as individual products. And if you are using any of those products till date, you may see an information regarding that, how long the support is there. So any LTS version has usually a couple of years of support, long-term support available to them. And beyond that, if you still want to continue to use them, you have another option for extended support options, right?
Exactly.
For those, yeah.
Yep,
So
exactly.
I just wanted to pitch in that these are for individual products that any of the customers are using at this time.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Pradeep. Appreciate that feedback. And another interesting link that's worth mentioning here that I'll actually talk about in my upcoming slides is this deprecation timeline link. So in addition to seeing the products that are already out of support, we can see the timeline for products that we intend or that are going to be phased into deprecation. And so here you can see a lot of the upcoming deprecations. As a matter of fact, that's where I'm going to jump into next. So some upcoming deprecations. So I included some in here that are actually deprecated as of April 2023. I know we're just starting May, so obviously already deprecated, but worth mentioning. So just real quick for AI Center, you'll notice that the Python 37 deprecation was announced in January 2023, and it's scheduled to be deprecated in June 2023. And in order to avoid any interruption in your AI Center experience, there's a new version of the models. And so you're strongly encouraged to upgrade to the latest models. So moving from 37 to 38.
Right. So there are two types of deprecations, right? One at the product level where your product itself is deprecating. For example, let's say if you talk about UiPath Studio itself, if you're using an older version of Studio or Studio X, or even Robot for that matter, right? If you have old installations, they may be deprecating or going out of support. So that's the first thing that you would notice. And essentially, you would receive an email well within time from UiPath itself saying that your product is getting out of support. You need to upgrade, and with next set of instructions, I believe Christian has a template and more information on that he'll share. But in addition to that, per product out of support or deprecation, the other aspect is activities or sub-components within the product, which is what we are right now looking at, like within AI Center. Python program 37, usually you will not see as such that because AI Center does not give you an option where you are creating a model. You are usually bringing a model from outside, or you are using any of the out-of-the-box models, right? So what does that mean? 37 deprecation is going forward. If you're bringing a new AI model, it has to be supporting Python 3.8. That's what it means, right? So, and that's for AI Center. And similarly, going to other products, even for the document understanding section, if you see, this is talking about the out-of-the-box model, right? So if you are using the Australia out-of-box model, or there are different models, there are a ton of out-of-the-box model available. So some of these out-of-the-box models are getting deprecated. The reason is there is a better model available. So if you have already used one of these packages to build your automation solution, it's advised that you go and upgrade and use the latest model, latest version of that particular package to update your automation.
Exactly
I
right.
just wanted to add that. Go ahead, Christian.
No, you're absolutely right, Pradeep. I appreciate that. And so as you can see here, then in addition to what we've already talked about to the left here, some upcoming deprecations for Insights include the data model for robot logs. And so that's scheduled to be deprecated as of last month. And then for Orchestrator transactional final state alteration via API, and support for Windows Server 2012 and IIS 8.5. I have another slide actually about classic execution as well that I'll get to that I think is important, worth mentioning.
Hey, Christian,
Yeah.
can I really, for Insights, can I just mention that there's actually an end of life also? So separate from the subcomponent that you're talking about, versions 20, any version before 2021.10 is actually going to end of life at the end of this year, where it will completely stop working, or the dashboards will completely stop working, and you won't be able to access them in order to upgrade to a new model. So, or to a new version of standalone. So I just wanted to mention that specifically because it's outside of what we normally, how an end of support normally runs. It's actually an end of life.
Can you mention that version number again, Dawn?
Sure. It's any version before 2021.
21.10.
Yep.
Perfect.
And that includes 2021.4, 2020.10. So all of those will end of life at the end of this year. So December 31st, 2023.
Good to know. Excellent to know. Thank you, Dawn.
Yeah, and we'll share the link. This is the snapshot that we have here is just for reference only. For latest information, always visit the link. I'm going to put that in the chat. So you take that link as a handy toolkit in your licensing lifecycle, maintaining these products.
Yes, good practice to be checked. Bookmark that link and kind of just routinely check it out. Keep an eye on, if anything's going to be phased out that you're currently utilizing. And so then, as you can see here, some additional upcoming deprecations for Insights, for Orchestrator, for Test Manager, and Process Mining. So I talked about Orchestrator, Test Manager, API version 1 will be deprecated as April 2023. And for Process Mining, the process graph layout and the old data uploading settings deprecation that was announced on March 2023, both of those, I believe, in the release notes. And so this is the one that I did actually want to talk about. So some of you might have actually received an email about this. So as we kind of come along the timeline for phasing out classic folders, classic executions actually are going to be deprecated, I believe, starting this month, and I believe it's at the end of this month that the migration will kind of complete. And so basically what that means is all classic executions in Orchestrator will be kind of blocked. We'll be able to see our classic folders still. It's only going to be a read-only mode. And so that means that robots that are in classic folders will stop working. So they need to be migrated to modern folders. So modern folders is really, really great. And honestly, after you take the plunge into moving to modern folders, you'll really see the benefits. Like, it's really great for splitting things out across different business units, for segregation of duties. It's really great for separating access. And so there's a lot of benefits that really come with modern folders. And UiPath has provided a couple tools that are a couple routes rather that we can go for making sure that we're upgrading to our modern folders. So there's a wizard available. There's an in-product classic to modern folders migration wizard that literally will kind of hold your hand throughout that process of migrating your classic folder to a modern folder. And then all you're kind of responsible for is, after the fact, testing to make sure that everything kind of is working as you expected. You can perform a manual migration. So, literally kind of manually go through the effort in which the wizard kind of does for you. And then just worth mentioning too, if there's for any reason you're unable to perform the migration before the end of May, reach out to UiPath support and specifically, mention classic migration in the subject line. But yeah, that migration to modern folders is key. And in the end of May, so, a couple weeks here, we have that classic execution will be phased out. So important to keep in mind for anyone who's still using classic folders. As I mentioned, the classic folders will still be available there. You'll still be able to see them, but it will be a read-only mode. So you won't be able to execute jobs inside of those classic folders.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. The tool actually helps a lot in terms of moving things out and takes out a lot of prep work from your end. So definitely give it a try if you're still using classic folders.
Yeah, I like this tool a lot too. We've actually in my day job, we've done kind of both a manual migration, and then recently we assisted a customer using the migration tool, and it was like night and day in terms of ease of use.
The only difference is being of how you use. If you have, I think the tool works within a tenant. If you have multiple tenants, you have to run it for each tenant separately. Yeah. But it does the rest of it, right? So it's definitely very useful. I'm going to share the link on chat in case someone is interested to take a look at it.
Perfect. Thank you, Pradeep. So what if how can you never upgrade again? That would be my first question, if I was hearing all of this, because as you all know, for anyone using on-prem, upgrading can be a tedious task. There's a whole effort of coordinating with your IT team. There's the effort of coordinating with your development team, making sure that any of your production robots are still executing, what they need to execute. all while we're worrying about rolling out the upgrade. And then after the upgrade, there's the effort of testing and all of that. So how can we avoid all of that? And so that's where UiPath Automation Cloud comes in. So UiPath Automation Cloud, for those of you who are not familiar with the tool, it's a cloud-based enterprise software as a service solution, ready to provision and use immediately. So if you wanted to, get Automation Cloud spun up today, you could work with UiPath and they could literally get it set up. All the infrastructure is on their end, or in the cloud rather, excuse me. So lower cost, so there's no dedicated IT infrastructure, as I just mentioned. So no need to worry about servers or an IT team to maintain those servers, or as I mentioned previously, coordinating with your IT team or infrastructure team to coordinate the effort of getting an upgrade conducted. So you kind of, all that kind of hassle of dealing with coordination and getting the upgrade scheduled to be upgraded, you don't have to worry about that with Automation Cloud, because we have instant access to those new functionalities. UiPath kind of owns the responsibility of upgrading your services, your cloud services, to the newest release. So you never really have to worry about, am I using a supported release? Because if you're in the Automation Cloud, you'll always be using a supported release, because that's, always going to be up to date, always the latest version. And so our internally, my day job, we've switched from an on-prem solution, because we've been using UiPath for like 6 years now, so it's been quite a while. But switching from our on-prem to our cloud, and it's made a huge difference. It's made a huge difference, especially for collaboration too, as well, like in the ease of adding users, say for our offshore folks, getting those folks access to different tenants, all that's, it's just really, really quick and easy. If we need to spin up new stuff, it's been quick and easy. So yeah, it's really, really great benefit to just being able to use those latest and greatest features as well. One of the tough things I hear from folks with using such innovative and new technology is sometimes it's hard to stay on top of it, because it's so there's so much learning involved. And so one of the nice things about always using the latest stuff, we don't have to worry about any of the manual effort to get the latest functionality. It's just there. So that allows us to kind of get up to speed with all of the latest greatest features in a quicker manner. So lots of benefits to using Automation Cloud. But unfortunately, not all customers can use Automation Cloud, I guess to say. So there are some entities that, maybe government entities or public entities that are just unable to use a cloud-based solution. And so for that, they might have to use on-prem automation suite. And so Pradeep is going to go ahead and take over and talk a little bit about some of the benefits of how to stay current and best practices for staying current. So I will go ahead and stop sharing, and Pradeep, you can take over.
All right. Thank you, Christian. Let me know if you see my screen.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Benefits of staying current.
Okay. All right. So we talked about Automation Cloud. That's definitely a game changer. Having a complete SaaS platform deployed, and most of the customers, small business customer, enterprise, commercial customers, they would love that product, because once you have Automation Cloud, you don't have to worry about individual product licensing, product configuration. That takes out a ton of hassles that comes with having individual products deployed, maintain, and continue to support them. So it completely becomes natural to just continue to use the latest version of the product. The other aspect is obviously some customers who cannot or who would not plan to move to Automation Cloud. UiPath has Automation Suite, on-prem version, containerized Docker solution, which is a one-click deployment for all the products and services. And once you have configured Automation Suite in your on-prem environment, the behavior or the usage and user experience is as good as Automation Cloud. The only difference is now you have the whole solution available in your on-prem data center or servers. Now, once we have these solution in place, whether it's Automation Cloud or Automation Suite, you do not have such an end of cycle, because you usually get updates on a regular basis. And if you have to update, or let's say as a platform, all the product versions are kept updated. However, there may be certain scenarios where we talked about a few slides back that individual activities may be deprecated over time. And that's where you have to still stay updated in order to make sure that if you have already used a particular package, let's say the invoice package, that is you're using an older version of invoice package for a certain automation, and that invoice package is getting deprecated, right? So that could be one scenario. Other scenario was like Python language support, right? So when you're moving from 3.7 to 3.8, and lo and behold, very soon we'll be moving from 3.8 to 3.9 or even 4.0, right? Because these things keep changing. So for those case scenarios where we still have to stay updated with some of the activities that you need to update, so what you can do to stay informed about it and how it can really help, because you don't want to end up caught up in that cycle where you do not have updated packages available to your solution. So let's talk about on that. So obviously, once you have updated versions, you have latest features available from UiPath, and UiPath is consistently releasing not just new solutions or new products for us to use, but also there are a lot of features getting added almost with every iteration. Sometimes it's available with the long-term support versions, LTS, that comes twice a year, once in April and once in October. That's why you see those version numbers at 22, 23.4 or 22.10. So that's the nomenclature for them. But in addition to those LTS versions, you also get consistent upgrade during between those two timelines as well. And that's where if you are using an automation cloud, you will be upgraded as soon as a particular feature is available for general availability. Okay, it's a general release. So that will right away upgrade it to your platform, and you will get notification in case if you're using Studio, that's a desktop application, you will get a notification that a new release is available for you to consume, and it will get deployed. So it all is set up in a very consistent manner, so that as a user you don't have to really put an effort to stay updated. Enhanced security. Security is no matter whichever product you are building, whether it's for enterprise customers or small business customers, security is always the topmost priority. And having staying current with the licensing and the latest features always helps maintain that security, because no matter whichever platform you talk about, we are always vulnerable uh, to any kind of whether malware attack or any other vulnerabilities within a platform that can be exposed and can be maliciously used. So that's why staying current, staying updated with the licenses will help protect our environment, our work, and our customers' work. Technical support. So the next technical support is for all the licensed users, like we talked about. LTS version is always supported for around 2 years, and you can always get enhanced extended support for it. So you will always have the technical support available to you when you are current. As soon as the products are getting older, let's say they are older beyond the life cycle of a particular product, right? It becomes very difficult to upgrade or provide any technical support, because the products are getting released very consistent way, right? And there are a lot of things that change from one version to another version, and you can be in a state where you can not do a direct upgrade, right? So like, for example, we talked about few things. We talked about UiPath Insights a few minutes before, right? So UiPath Insights 21.10, anything before and 21.10 cannot be upgraded to a new version, because obviously there may be a whole framework change, whole underlying framework, the solution architecture that can be completely changed, that it cannot go through an automated upgrade cycle, right? So that's why it becomes technical support becomes very difficult. So that gives you another reason for always to stay current. Last but not the least, I would say cost savings is obviously keeping your licenses up to date always helps you avoid any kind of last minute issues, right? You don't want to get into a situation where you get stuck with a challenge and all of a sudden you have to go now procure a license or get a latest version because the older version is not going to work and you just came to know about it, right? So those challenges we don't want to get caught by surprise. So those are some of the benefits of staying always current. And Automation Cloud is definitely a right way to go if you are using a SaaS platform or Automation Suite if you're going for an on-prem deployment. Let's talk about briefly on the best practices, how we can stay updated. And we talked about some of that already. Christian mentioned that how we can stay updated whenever we are out of cycle. Usually UiPath always sends out email notifications. They are always sent ahead of time. In some cases up to 60 days before, if not, at least definitely, I have seen these notifications come out 30 days before, around 45 days mark. So you're always aware that when your product cycle is getting to close, or even they are ready for a renewal cycle, right? So other than that email notification that you receive, there are other platforms or other avenues for us as a user to stay updated. We can always subscribe to UiPath release notes that are available from UiPath platform, and you usually get these release notes every time a new release is available. And this is not just limited to your LTS release, but it's available to your even for the monthly releases. You have all that information. So it serves you two things, right? First of all, these release notes will have information about new products and features. And it also has information about any particular product or activities that are getting deprecated or they are coming to end of life cycle. So you have all that information summarized in an email uh, available to you to look at and take action. The second option is definitely events like this, what we are conducting today, right? And this is just one of those events, but you can continue to join webinars, product events, meetups, where you can get information about what new features are coming up. And that way, you know that if a certain feature that you're using and it's not available anymore, or it has definitely been upgraded. And with each of these upgrades, you get a lot of advantages, not just in terms of performance, but in terms of user experience. And those two things matter a lot, right? Because that's what automation is all about, to give you a speed, uh, agility in your business workflow where you're making change, and also user experience which users kind of becomes a seamless to their nature of doing business, right? So those are the key things that you get out of these automation workflows and staying current with the new products. There are a few other things that you can always look at joining UiPath community. Like I mentioned, uh, events like this can help you. But if you're staying on top of the community events, you can join forum where usually most of this information gets published first. So you can get firsthand information even much before the product is coming to an end of life cycle. Courses keep updated. I just listed it out here because whenever a new product or feature comes in, you also have corresponding academy courses for you to get acquainted, to learn more about it and how you can really take advantage of it. Renew license and upgrades. We talked about renewal of licenses, needless to say, right? You always need to stay updated to keep your products up to date. And if you are already on Automation Cloud or Automation Suite environment, you don't have to worry about them because these are available to you. And obviously, at the time of renewal, which is usually a yearly renewal, you will get intimated by either the automated emails, your UiPath contacts, UiPath account team that you're working with. They will also intimate you in terms of what licenses are expiring and what are the next step or the next level of these licenses that you can go on and procure. So that those steps, if you keep on that path, you will stay always current with your licenses and will not have any of the issues where you are missing product features or you're working with an outdated version. Because for an enterprise customer, it's always a challenge. If you're working in an older version, security is definitely one of the biggest risks that no one wants to get into that situation. And also if your product is already end of cycle, getting those products upgraded to a new version of it becomes a huge hassle. So we definitely don't want the users to get into that get that into that situation. So having said that, I would say that stay current and stay transition towards automation cloud if that is a possibility, or to automation suite, because that takes care of most of these challenges. You don't have to go and look into each of the individual products that you have deployed, and you don't have to maintain their licensing versions. You don't have to look into the configuration of these products with each other, because I know I have done it myself with individual products. It takes a lot of work, not just installing it, but then setting up configuration, whether it's between orchestrator and insights or orchestrator and test manager. It has a lot of hassles on its own, right? Beyond anything else. So it's I think more and more I see automation suite and automation cloud is the way to move forward and transition to that. And the licensing is very flexible in terms of we have multiple options available to procure in terms of what type of licensing you may be looking for. So I think I hope this information is helpful to you. We have also listed out these resources. These are links for the documentation, UiPath documentation, where you can find updated information. What we shared here on this deck, it's updated as of today, I would say, right? But going forward, if you're going to continue on this path and you're still using any individual product, I would say bookmark these links, stay on top of it, and the other resources we talked about, whether it's a forum, UiPath events, or release notes for that matter, stay on top of them so that you are updated and you don't miss an upgrade. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions. Do we have any questions on chat?
Yeah, there was one question. How do we know if we are in mainstream or extended support?
So that would be. Go ahead, Pradeep. Sorry. I was just going to say, so you can know that based on if you go out to the websites that we shared in the links there, you can check out the deprecation timeline as well as the product lifecycle. And so you can kind of see the timeframes for mainstream and extended support. And if I remember, as I mentioned, extended support starts at the end of mainstream support and goes for X amount of time. So you just kind of have to look at those sites and determine those timeframes based on what it says on there for when the deprecation was officially going to be implemented. And then kind of determine from there. But if you just go out to any of those websites that we shared in the link, specifically, I believe the product lifecycle, you'll be able to see for your particular product, where it is in terms of support.
Correct. So 20.10 just went on to extended support, or is on extended support until the October 31st of 2023, and then it will go to out of support. So that's the upcoming out of support version. So if you're on 20.10, you need to be making your upgrade plans.
Yes.
So it's kind of 3 years, right? So if you are anything in 2020, this is the time where you have to look forward for an upgrade. 2 to 3 years. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, people. Hey guys, my name is Venkat, and basically I work for a federal client of mine, and the upgrade path or the upgrade timelines which you have mentioned out here, they are pretty aggressive from a federal client perspective. So how do we course correct or adjust ourselves to these upgrade cycles that you guys are proposing versus how things move on the federal side of the world?
So I think, Venkat, what in order for you to stay current, I think automation suite is the right option rather than having individual deployments. I think that will help you stay current. Automation suite has you still would have 2 to 3 years of upgrade cycle.
Yeah.
And that upgrade cycle, because upgrade cycle brings you a lot of additional features, and like I talked about, right? Security vulnerabilities are there. With federal, obviously, it becomes much more compliance intensive, where you have to make sure that all the product services are up to date. So I think automation suite is the best choice for your
Okay.
organization.
Is it ATO certified?
Now, automation suite, yeah, automation suite, you have to look at your organization, right? If they have done that ATO for it,
Oh,
but automation
yeah.
suite is,
If you're selling it as a SaaS product, I mean, usually the expectation is, it's sold as a SaaS product, right? The automation suite.
no, so automation suite is an on-prem containerized Docker solution. So you can deploy it in your data center. That's not a SaaS solution. Automation cloud is the SaaS solution, and that is, if I'm correct, Orchestrator is FedRAMP moderate.
Yes, I was just going to say
But
FedRAMP.
yeah, but other solutions are still going through that cycle.
Okay.
And yeah, but automation suite is the best path forward. I also work with some of those customers, so they are exploring automation suite as a possible
Automation
mode of deployment.
Automation suite can even be air gapped, so
yeah,
it's
yes, it is air gap solution too.
Okay. Thank you so much.
That's as of April last year. Received in process for FedRAMP, so that opened a lot of doors for public sector and.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. In public sector, the FedRAMP certification is like the main, what do you call, deal maker or deal breaker.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Any other questions?
Anyone else has any question? Feel free to unmute, please.
I did want to mention that from a support standpoint, we are making it more prominent when you're opening tickets or when your engineers are opening tickets on deprecated versions. We are adding deprecated to the support to the version that they're opening, and we're also going to be doing a pop-up. And then we're also making that information more prominent within customer portal. That's an upcoming feature that's coming out soon, because we want to make sure that you're being notified at multiple touch points of the status of the version that you're on. We're also going to be starting to send more communications through customer portal about end of support and end of support versions. And so all of this is in the works in the very near future, that we will be releasing those features.
Yeah, no, I think that will be really nice. I can see already in Automation Cloud, it already intimates that. I think for individual products, having that feature will really help.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Suraj. So I have sorry.
No, go. I mean, let me just complete this follow-up question, Suraj, and then you can take over. So this Automation Cloud, is it sold as a separate product versus the regular UiPath product that's sold?
The Automation Cloud is a SaaS solution. And what you actually buy when you talk to your UiPath representative, you can talk to him regarding what individual items you want, whether it's a studio, orchestrator, insights, test manager, and you can go and procure those flex licenses. The beauty of Automation Suite is, Automation Cloud is that you don't have to buy Orchestrator separately. Orchestrator comes along with these individual flex licenses, so you can use it at your enterprise level, same way as you're doing for your individual products. But you don't have to. Orchestrator is included as part of flex licensing. I just wanted to mention that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Sorry, but I'm sorry for interrupting. The other guy was asking a question. All yours.
Yes, Suraj, please go ahead. Yeah.
So I have a question that Automation Suite, it is a containerized Docker solution. but does it also reduce the infrastructure requirement? So like suppose we are installing on-prem Insight separately, then orchestrator separately. So like these all things have their own infra requirement, like Linux server plus
Right.
the other
Right.
server. So
Absolutely.
this automation suite, how if we can just get an idea that if there will be any reduction in infra, hardware or anything.
So right now, automation suite is available in two forms. Obviously, if you're looking for a production environment, you're looking at 3-node architecture. So you need to have three server nodes, and they can be that's what you need for your standard deployment. That does not include AI Center and Document Understanding, but you can deploy any other product in 3-node architecture. For AI Center and Document Understanding, if you want to deploy them as automation suite solution, then you would need additional servers for that, because you may even want to have a GPU for that.
Yeah, GPU is
But
recommended.
as far as your infrastructure configuration is, it's available on UiPath platform, the automation suite minimum requirement, minimum hardware requirement. I think it's 96 core CPUs, but you can refer to the documentation. Search for automation suite, UiPath automation suite online, and you'll find the documentation on it. For POC purposes, I would suggest you can do a POC with a single node deployment, and that can give you a good hands-on in terms of seeing what it brings to the table, because it gives you a lot of power in terms of the control and level of access you have on the overall automation suite platform. It has a couple of other services as well for monitoring and also administration of the automation suite, where you can add or remove nodes depending on the load that you want to put it on.
And I threw that in the chat, the link to the hardware and software requirements for our automation suite.
Yeah, so look into that. And with 23.4 is actually a very, it is one of the latest versions, which has actually gone through some architectural level changes as well, compared to 22.10. So if you're going to explore in automation suite, I would suggest start with 23.4 itself. Do not spend time on 22.10, because there may be some issues in upgrade if you start with 22.10 and then you later want to upgrade to 23.4. This is I'm telling by experience.
Yeah, right.
But automation suite will have not that level of infrastructure expenses, but because now you have all the solutions combined as one single Docker deployment, right? So you can add additional nodes if you have a huge volume for a certain service, but otherwise a 3-node deployment should give you access to all of the platforms, all the services except AI Center and Document Understanding. Does that answer your question, Suraj?
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah, please definitely look at the documentation. That would have the latest information.
Thank you so much.
All
Hi, Pradeep. This is Smita. So when you said upgrading from 2022.10 to 2023, so you had issues. I recently upgraded all the machines with 2022.10. So should I be
Are you
upgrading?
talking about automation suite or cloud?
No, on-premises orchestrator and studio and robot.
So
Okay, that's only individual products you're talking about then.
Okay, so I should be fine with
Yes,
2022.10.
Right.
You should be
yeah,
fine.
22.10 is still in full support.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, individual product, you're good. You're good to go.
There's a question in the chat about, I don't see orchestrator standalone versions 21.4.1 or 21.10.3 on the product lifecycle list. So I can answer those really fast. The 21.4.x is already out of support. So it's end of support. The 21.10.3 is fine, still on mainstream support until October 21st or October 31st, and then it will go on to extended support.
Yeah.
And so regardless of whether or not you see that specific dot version, the 21.10.x will go on to extended support, and it's the 21.4.x, which is out of support. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I thought so.
Okay, great.
Hi Pradeep, hi Dawn. This is Deepika. I have a question. Someone pinged over the chat a question. I have query on the same thing. How the transition from old on-prem to new Flex, how it is going to affect production, how it is smooth. So actually my client is currently using on-prem 2019 version for Orchestrator and Studio. And we are trying to convince them to move it to cloud. But they are not ready to pay, means they are thinking that there will be extra cost on the licenses, and they are not ready for that. So they are suggesting to move it to cloud only, to move it to on-prem only, the latest version. But I want to understand, is there a lot of cost difference between on-prem license or the cloud, if we go to Flex cloud license, and how smooth the transition from on-prem to cloud, so that I can convince them?
Okay, so there are two aspects to this question. So look at this way, right? So first of all, you're already on 2019 version, right? So that is definitely going to be ending support towards end of this year, or even may have already ended support for that. 2019, yeah, it's more than 3 years. So you need to upgrade. Now, upgrading in terms of going to automation cloud is always beneficial. So you will be saving actually in terms of your infrastructure cost, until unless there are some compliance requirements for your customer for which they want to stay on-prem, right? And those are different situations, because for compliance you have to maintain it, and that may be the reason why they still want to stay on-prem. Cost should not be a consideration, because once you go to automation cloud, you're not paying for any hardware infrastructure. You're not spending any time for maintaining that infrastructure. What you're paying, you're only paying for Flex licensing, and license price, you are still paying license price for your on-prem deployment, right? So you do not, the license pricing is not different between these two products. Again, you can go back and look for exact pricing, but it's not a lot of difference. They are very much similar in terms of pricing. But I would say if there are no compliance requirements or any other considerations that is holding them from moving to automation cloud, I think to stay continuing getting latest features and take advantage of it, I think they should move to automation cloud. And also I mentioned, if they move to automation cloud, they would not be paying for Orchestrator standalone, because Orchestrator comes along with Flex licensing. So you don't pay separately for Orchestrator solution itself. So that should balance and give you much more cost benefit, if that is the only consideration for them to move forward. I think automation cloud is a right way to go forward.
And to piggyback on that real quick, actually, so in terms of the ease from moving from on-prem or standalone into automation cloud, I shared a link in the chat. There's the migration tool makes it really, really quite easy, because you're able to kind of tell it where to look for all your on-prem stuff, the URL for where that lives, how to get to it, and then basically it uses, I believe it uses in the backend the UiPath Orchestrator API to kind of obtain all of that data and it creates everything that you need to move into the automation cloud. So the migration tool makes it quite easy to kind of move from standalone into automation cloud. So don't let that effort kind of turn you away from it. The tool was really helpful in making that move a lot less painless.
Yeah.
Okay, so is this tool only for moving from standalone to cloud? Do we have any such migration tool for moving from on-prem to on-prem for the latest version?
I believe it is only from standalone to cloud. Yes, I don't think
it's only for cloud. It's not for on-prem to on-prem.
And do we have any documentation like best practices, checklist before and after the upgrade we have to follow, whether it's on-prem or on-prem to cloud?
Yes, there's a ton. There's a ton of documentation.
Yeah, like I feel like
for upgrading and from different versions, what the requirements are for different versions. All of that's on the docs at uipath.com. Yeah.
Yeah, the migration tool itself has, in the next steps, if you look at the end of the migration tool, you'll find the best practices or checklists that you need to make sure. There may be some minor things that you may encounter, but those you can keep a backup of your current on-prem SQL server, and you can use that if there is some data that you are not that fails the migration process, you can use that backup to restore that information back to transition to the automation cloud.
And I put a link in the chat
And I do want to mention the caveat that the older the version that you're on, the more likely you are to run into issues. So if you're on a pre 19.10 version, there may be additional steps that you have to take in order to get to the latest version. It might not be a single jump if you're on a super old version, 2018, 2019.4. Those may require some additional steps.
And I added a link in the chat for about updating and migrating, and there's a pre-installation checklist in there.
Yep.
And from there, you should be able to get to additional checklists as well, or any other prerequisites.
Yeah, thank you. I also have one more question. So if I upgrade my orchestrator to the latest version, 2022.10, but can I still connect orchestrator latest on-prem version with old studio version with the 2019?
Backwards compatibility. Somewhere on the documentation too, there's a chart for the backwards.
Yeah, there is a matrix for that. You can look at that if you can still connect to it or not. But yeah, there is up to a certain extent it's supported. Beyond that, it won't work.
Well, and also for like some products, like Insights has to remain within the same version of Orchestrator.
Yeah.
So there are different products have different requirements as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, and that compatibility matrix is now in the chat as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Teddy.
Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah, since there is silence out here, I'll probably go with one more question.
Thanks. Any more questions?
Oh wait, Venkat is
Yeah,
trying to say something.
Yeah, I'll probably go with my question. We have 5 more minutes. I won't take advantage of your time. So I know you have your own product life cycle where you do your upgrades and all that stuff. You mentioned April and October, whatever, and you also work with vendors like SAP. How do you time your upgrades with the vendor product upgrades, and how do you guys work hand in glove with them, or are you guys on your own track?
So I think the question is, does UiPath kind of synchronize the releases with like other large product vendors? Is that the question?
Yes, sir. Yeah, man, you made it so simple.
Yeah,
so
I don't think that is the case. With right now, what I think the product team can better answer that question, to be honest. But what I have seen in my experience, I'll share that there are 2 major versions. Those are long-term support versions in April and October. They have most of the features in sync, and the minor versions between that time, that is where based on the product, you can get updated new updates, or kind of catching up to if there is a new update came from SAP that needs to be supported from UiPath. Those releases will come out as part of that. But like I said, it has to be it's a very specific question, right? And only the product managers can answer that question, to be precise. If that is part of their product roadmap or not.
Okay, so yeah, okay, but yeah, your timelines, and then maybe we need to look at the other products timelines and work accordingly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Venkat.
Any other questions? Okay, well, we'd like to thank you for coming today. This was a really valuable session, and thank Don, Christian, and Pradeep for presenting. Just make sure that everybody grabs the information in chat. And the recording will be available tomorrow at the same URL that you entered today's session.
Yeah, Thank you, everyone.
Thank
And
you, everyone.
we have also shared LinkedIn. You may want to connect with the speakers, and of course, they will not be able to
Hi
answer
everyone.
any.
Hi everyone, this is Anisha. I have one question. Can I ask that?
Sure.
Yeah. So actually, right now I have developed the code in 22.4.5 version. Okay. So
Okay.
in UAT, the version is around 22.10.5. Okay. When I moved from, actually I have developed code in Windows legacy version, but in UAT, my environment, so the code, I converted my code from Windows legacy to Windows. So after that, when I'm running my code, I'm getting a lot of DLL errors.
Mm.
So not every package that is available in not every Windows legacy package is available in Windows. So so for example, like I was dealing with the SAP BAPI package the other day. Like there's not a version that's available for the Windows version. So Windows legacy will continue to be supported moving forward. They're going to phase out creating projects in Windows Legacy, but I believe that the support for Windows Legacy will always be there. So that's why you're getting those DLL errors. So you'll have to see if you can switch back to like Windows Legacy and achieve the same thing in that framework.
Okay,
but
so
that's why you're getting those errors.
Yes. So can I move the Windows legacy code directly to production? So how long the support will be from UiPath if I get any errors in the future? So how much support will I get from you?
Right. Yeah. Right now there is no end of line or deprecation date set up for Windows legacy support. So you can still use your automation built on legacy without any issue. There is no date has been announced for Windows legacy support.
So I'm good to go to production then, right? Like
yes, you
for
should. You
Windows
are good to
legacy
go.
only.
Yeah.
So
There is a warning comes up, but you can ignore it. There is no end date yet on this. We all are dealing with that with some of the other use cases, but good thing is you're good to go. There's nothing that is stopping us at this time.
Okay, I have one
And
more
like
question.
I said, stay updated with forum and other platforms, so you know when a date gets announced,
And
if any.
Windows Legacy is specifically listed on the deprecations page. So there is like some information out there about what that looks like, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Okay. So I have one more question that is like actually, even though I am using UiPath Orchestrator Enterprise version, I installed Studio and also an Enterprise version, but my Studio is updating automatically. How can I stop the automatic updates when I'm using Enterprise version of Studio?
I believe there's a setting, or there used to be, where you could tell it like stable only, like so it wouldn't. I have to double check honestly, but I feel like there was in the UiPath settings, if you in Studio.
Yeah, you're talking about client binaries, I think. Yeah, I have set up with that none.
Are you sure about that? You don't have the community edition installed?
Yes,
the Studio
I'm
is
sure about it.
community
I'm pretty
edition?
sure because I have checked the home UiPath home many times.
Okay.
So I make sure that that is I'm using enterprise version only, but my Studio is even I set up the client binaries as none in UiPath Orchestrator.
So that would be a great support ticket. If you're using a supported version, that would be a great support ticket, and they can help you do that.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But they can look at your
That's
version.
right,
They can look at all the intricacies that are involved.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you
Thanks
so much.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Be
Yes,
well.
everyone. Bye.
All right. Take care.
Bye.